Tricky did have the only goals, even as a substitute for his team last time. So Benji, do you think Team Sapphire has what it takes to take it this time, or do you think Team Black are going to once again try to pull off and get first or second seed?
I honestly have no idea who's going to win this, but this is a grudge match between these two teams, as we have the exact same players, and maybe try to prove that the grand finals maybe shouldn't have happened. Maybe they could have played better on a certain time, but we'll see. This is, I'd say, the most hype match of the day, because these are probably the two best teams in Academy. Team Havoc really made a case for that last game, but in my opinion, these are probably the best teams, so I want to see how this game will play out.
And remember, both of these teams really want to get top to this regional, because for our third tournament of Split 1, it's going to be double the points, meaning that if a random team manages to win in Regional 3 and one of these teams don't have an upper hand, then it's going to be it's going to be a very close run to that promotion relegation playoff. And Benji, if you were in the position where these teams are, where you essentially have to win this tournament or get second place just to be close, how do you think about that?
I think definitely your performance in the first regional, which the first regional had the lowest amount of points, but still was important for the overall placement of these teams. But this regional really is the build-up. You have to use this as either you need to try and get a top 2 performance, I'd say maybe a grand finalist, or you need to have a full, just incredible showing in the next regional if you do bad in this one. So these teams definitely fighting for that top 2 spot, and it would be good to get it right now instead of have to try and get later.
Yeah, essentially, if both of these teams either miss out on the grand finals, or the other one wins the grand final, then they're essentially going to have to win the third regional to even get a chance to go to the promotion relegation tournament. It's very close knit here in these academy teams, and they're all looking stronger by the day. If you were Team Green, who's looking like the most likely candidate to go to the promotion relegation right now, of course they can start fighting back and avoid it. But if you were Team Green, would you be afraid of these academy teams?
I would definitely be afraid of maybe the individual performances of these teams. Some of these players are just insane, and they could pop off on the day, but I feel like the overall team chemistry and playstyles are a little bit higher level in main league. So I think it'll be definitely a player will have to step up on most of the teams if they want to win the promotion relegation tournament with these academy teams. So definitely still a lot to be worried about for teams like Team Green.
Exactly, but even with a team like Team Green, they step up really, really well. They went to that 7-minute overtime with Team Purple, and Team Purple is probably known to have, if not the best, at least one of the best offenses in the main league. So Team Green being able to keep up, defensively at least, with the Team Purple squad, they're definitely going to be looking hopefully strong when they go against an academy team, should they go to the promotion relegation tournament.
An incredible play from I think a full team play. It was a pass to Trixie, and Tricky just passed it from the corner to Flexi, and game tied up. And I have high expectations for this game to be very close, because these teams definitely have what it takes to score off each other and win games. But we'll see who can perform better on the day.
Exactly. Here comes Cannoli. He managed to get the first goal on the board for his team, and mechanically, he's been stepping up a lot recently. Of course, when Team Black first came into things, you have JR, who's the GC1 of the group, playing with 2 C3s, and it was a JR show. As a matter of fact, it was all JR going from Regional 1, and they actually almost ended up losing a couple of matches because they were resorted on that star player. But now we're seeing Pasta and Cannoli really step it up, and JR actually taking a backseat in regards to his team, and I think that's going to allow them to really do well, especially if they play against a more mechanical team like Team Sapphire.
Definitely, and I think it's better to have your higher level player and higher experienced player to play towards that back playing, because your high level player will know what to do in certain situations where maybe a lower level player won't really know what to do because they haven't been in that situation before. So having your high level player playing back, JR actually couldn't get a touch there and was playing back, and Azrael, who has also stepped up for his team phenomenally, has scored the go-ahead goal for his team.
And remember, these teams, whoever wins will manage to avoid hopefully the other one in the playoffs as well. For example, whoever loses this, assuming they do make it to the playoffs through round 3, they do not want to face off against a hot Team Aqua going into that first round, because that might possibly spell doom for them and their chances to go to promotion relegation tournament. But do you think that nerves will affect them too much, or do you think that these teams are just going to play their best and see if they can get the win?
I think qualifying here for this round definitely will be a higher level, because we'll see this is actually a rematch, and we'll see who really has what it takes to be that higher level team going into the playoffs. And nerves definitely, I don't think, are present for both these teams. They've played in matches before. It isn't like the first couple matches where we haven't seen most of these players, but we've seen these players. We know what they're capable of, and they know what they're capable of, especially on stream.
And it looks like our production has crashed. We're going to try and get him back in the lobby as soon as possible. So we're going to do our best to give you guys a little bit of a radio show right now. So we got Pasta. He's taking the ball up the field right now. It's going to be trying to clear the ball down the field. And we're seeing a lot more pressure coming out from Team Sapphire at this moment in time. Team Black do have a chance right now. They're starting to pile on some pressure right now. And they're continuing to try to go up the field. However, Team Black still yet to find a goal. But they have some amazing pressure at this moment in time and can't get the ball into the goal right now, and Team Sapphire will clear the ball away.
Now Flexi going for a clear or a shot by himself. Actually, Canoli now has the ball in the corner, trying to take some possession. Tries to beat the ball over Azrael, but a 50-50 happens, and a booming shot comes from Flexi. Actually popped off from Azrael, who just gets a doink shot off the pass from Flexi, who puts it right onto his car.
Team Sapphire, they were able to step it up in this game, and it looks like we got production back in the lobby. Sorry, everybody. Apparently, our producer, his Rocket League ended up crashing. However, Benji, I think we had a little bit of fun talking like the old radio hosts, casting a baseball game or something like that. I definitely had a little bit of fun. But now, 35 seconds left in the game. Benji, what do you think that Team Black are going to have to do?
I think Team Black really need to counteract these offensive plays and offensive sort of 1-2 plays, 1-2-3 plays that we actually have a rule 1 coming in from Pastafarian, and I believe that's tricky. So momentary 2v2 won't really matter because we only have about 15 seconds left and a 3-goal lead coming out from Team Sapphire. But really these team players, I've seen so many just great team plays from Team Sapphire who are using their entire team, and not necessarily happening with Team Black, who are just relying on those one individual players.
And the player that we thought was going to step up last week during the playoffs has stepped up. They're definitely going to have to rebuild, and I think we're starting to see that. We're starting to see them really look to play the best. They're trying to play their best, put the ball over to the side, and there we go, setting up JR the way they need to. It's not JR trying to 1v3. It's Canoli and Pasta trying to set up his teammate JR, and JR will then put the ball in the back of the net. That's what we need to see. We don't need to see a carry. We just need them to set up the carry. That's what we really want to see out of these types of teams.
And for these teams who are trying to set themselves up for that promotion relegation tournament and eventually the main goal, getting into main league, you can't, those playstyles, especially in main league, are just so counterable because you just have that one player that you can always just go for maybe a demo or go for a counter. And once you eliminate that carry of the team, then you really can do anything with the ball at that point. So these teams really got to get a firm, solid playstyle that can work against academy teams and hopefully work against main league teams.
And there's only one person in the main league mechanically who could probably 1v3 anybody in Academy on his best day, and that would be Pixacar. However, we've seen now that he doesn't, even though he's extremely mechanical, even when he's not playing his best, it shows that he can't just carry even when he's not playing his best with mechanics alone, and that's Pixacar. Somebody who on his best day, Benji, you know it better than anyone, Pixacar on his best day, he's getting it around anybody no matter how good they are.
Definitely. When we played against him last week, that second game was rough. He was all around us, and we didn't really know how to counter him. And he had, I think, 800 points, 13 shots, I believe. So that one player definitely will work sometimes, but you want to have a full team performance. And a little bit of a bouncer, kind of a misplay from Flexi, who just lets the ball roll past him, and JR gets a free shot for him. And security, a 2-goal lead for them.
This is what we want to see out of Team Black, stepping up when it matters most. They end up losing game 1, but there's a lot of mechanical teams that end up losing game 1 and then end up a gentleman's reverse sweeping the match right afterwards, managing to win the next 3 games just because they have to get used to the series and who they're playing against. Canoli looked for an astral pinch there, actually almost managed to get it on target. Let's give me over to Azrael. He actually gets the flip reset off the pre-flip, just wasn't able to do anything with it, and Team Black are going to clear the ball down the field once again.
And if this is calling it early, but if Team Sapphire manages to win this game, I think this will probably go to Game 5 if they manage to tie the series 1-1, because these teams are so evenly matched that you really can't know what to expect when these teams play together.
Exactly. JR, again, trying to look for his hat trick. JR was a little quiet in that last game, but now it's going to be back over to Canoli. Canoli, over to Pasta. Pasta over to the side wall. Over to Canoli. Canoli pops the ball forward. It's going to be over to Flexi. Flexi in the back corner ends up getting beat by Canoli. Canoli pops the ball out mid. It's going to be up to Tricky. Tricky will get the save and pop it up, but he ends up getting beat out by the other team. JR manages to go for it. He sets up Canoli. Canoli shoots. It's off the backboard, and now JR will try to look for the pass back, but here comes Azrael. He stepped up massively in game number 1, but kind of like JR was quiet in game number 1, Azrael is now a little quiet himself in this game number 2.
Definitely. We're looking for those players to not necessarily carry the team, but lead the offense for these teams. And JR and Azrael are my two picks for leading the offense. We see players like Sapphire who really can set up those plays, and players like Shadow, who isn't actually playing today, but he really is one of those incredible players. I think solid third-man players. And Tricky tries to boom the ball downfield, trying to get at least one goal. And halfway point, we have fast now.
Flex puts the ball over to the side. It's going to be over to JR. JR puts the ball forward. Looking for the shot. Is it on target? No, it's off the post. The fourth man saving out Team Sapphire. And Azrael will clear the ball down the field. Now back into the hands of Tricky. Tricky trying to take the ball up to the side wall. It's going to be intercepted by Cannoli and look for a pass out mid. Can JR get the shot? It is on target. However, it's going to be Flexi the one tasked to clear the ball away.
Now, as we approach, we have passed the 2-minute mark. Azrael with the ball, trying to play the ball into his corner, tries to pass to Flexi, but cut off by JR actually. And ball bouncing towards mid. Trixie tries to pass the ball downfield, but cut off by Cannoli, who hits the ball towards midfield again towards Tricky, who tries to pass the ball downfield, but Sapphire has him blocked off, and now trying to push the ball downfield. Goes for a hit, but cannot get it, and JR tries to go for a hit, and now really kind of just solid play for both these teams, which we need to see Team Sapphire make a move now, because if they don't, they're going to just get shut out in this game. And what do you think, why do you think this shutout is so completely different from the previous game?
Well, one, the first game didn't have own goals like that, but two, in game number one, it was really Azrael and the rest of Team Sapphire stepping up, taking possession of the ball, and overall making sure they had very clear communication as to what they wanted to do with that ball. But as we see in this game, it hasn't even been outplays by Team Black that have led to goals. There's been mistakes by Team Sapphire. So if Team Sapphire stop talking, they're going to have to make sure they lose their ego, keep up the confidence, and then just start putting actual shots on target. As we see there, Azrael puts it off the crossbar.
Definitely. We need to see somebody just realize, hey, we lost this game. Sirius is still tied 1-1, so definitely not out of the woods yet. But if they can't even answer with a goal in this game, I think definitely may have just been a little bit of time to warm up for this Team Sapphire, or yeah, this Team Black squad, actually.
Ball back gets popped up and forward. Over to Flexi. Flexi trying to maintain possession. Flexi ends up popping it out. It's going to be over to Pasta. Pasta Cannoli. It's going to be a double commit from JR and Cannoli. We still see a little bit of the bad habits coming in from the carry mentality from JR, but still he's playing solid. But that's going to be a breezy attempt from Azrael, and it goes off the backboard. It still goes in. Oh my goodness, I don't think we're going to get a replay out of that. Oh, we barely get to see it at the very start of it, but oh my goodness. Azrael almost getting the breezy. And I don't know about you, Benji, but I did not expect to see a breezy in Academy anytime soon.
And that's definitely a confidence booster for the team, who just hasn't been able to score at all. And he pulls that out of his tricks. We know that this guy's mechanical. We didn't know he could pull off that. And he's had a rough game so far, only 168 points, 5 shots though. But we've seen him step up now with that breezy. I think that's really... They aren't necessarily going to win the game, I don't think at least, but that'll be definitely a good thing to put forward in this next game.
Exactly. They show that they can still score. It wasn't Team Black playing bad in game number one, is that they've stepped up. And now Team Sapphire, they've shown that they can step up as well and play at the exact level Team Black are. And now it's going to move over to Tricky. Tricky over to Azrael, and they're going to be looking for a play, but it's going on defense if that ever does happen.
Yes, we see always the offensive mechanics really showing for both these teams. We never see really defensive mechanics, positioning for back post, which I believe definitely is a mechanic that underlooked, is being able to position really well, really properly. And back post positioning, always being able to know where you're supposed to be in the rotation, first man, second man, and third man. So we'll see how these teams can adjust to that defensive play style.
Azrael now looks for a hit. It's going to be popped out to the side, over to Flexi. Flexi pops the ball up. It's going to be over to Pasta now. Pasta off the backboard. It's going to bounce down. It's on the goal line, and Pasta will put that in. Apparently nobody on Team Sapphire wanted to save that ball, and it's going to go in here with 31 seconds off the clock already, and it looks like Tricky no one on their team, and it's going to be Flexi to put in another own goal. And Team Sapphire, they're going to have to step up on defense.
Definitely, really, besides that one goal, we've had 5 really unanswered goals. And really, that goal is not necessarily the most stylish goal. It's an own goal, and it's a goal that I think shouldn't have gone in. Another goal from JR, actually a little bit help from Flexi. Not another own goal, I don't think, but still really no answering from this Team Sapphire squad.
Exactly, and Team Sapphire, they looked so good in game number 1, and did Flexi own goal again there? I couldn't quite see that touch, but if he did, oh my goodness. Flexi really stepping up on the own goal category. However, if we can see Team Sapphire to step up, realize that they just have to be confident. Vertical stack down the field, give each other some space. They should be able to win this, but who knows what's going on in their mentalities.
Who does know? We can only really tell about the comms, and that aspect of Rocket League really is the, I think, untalked about aspect is how your comms or how your mentality is. Because if you just stop trying, maybe even in this game, which this game still has at the most 2 more games to go, that is when you've lost. Even when you just stop trying to improve, and everybody goes quiet in comms, that's when you really, team starts to fall apart.
Ball gets popped out and forward over to Cannoli. Cannoli tries to push the ball forward now. It's going to be off the backboard. Now it's going to be followed up by JR, and he puts it in the back of the net. JR has stepped up, and it looks like to be consistent. Even though we saw Azrael in game number 1 pop off, in game number 2, he wasn't able to get to that same level of performance. But unlike Azrael, JR has stepped up not only in game number 2, but game number 3 as well. And if he can continue stepping up, then Team Black definitely looking like the favorites to win this series.
And we don't like to see this from Team Sapphire. This is more of mechanical problems. They're not getting the hits they should be getting. And we see donuts all around the board. Nothing happening from Team Sapphire. We're already 3 minutes and like 30 seconds into this game, so we need to see something happen for Team Sapphire, or they're just not going to be able to develop anything in this game.
Ball back to the backboard over to Azrael. It's going to be another double commit from Team Sapphire, and the substitute Tricky's going to put the ball out to the side wall. Tricky tries to push the ball forward. It's going to be blocked out. It's going to be over to Flexi. Flexi trying to put the ball at the backboard. Wasn't able to get the touch. It looks like he's trying to hit the ball to the backboard and go to the ceiling at the same time to maybe get a shot. However, it's still going to be in the hands of JR, who will clear the ball down the field for Team Sapphire just to clear it right back.
Cannoli pops the ball up. Flexi cannot get a hit, and Sapphire goes for a shot. Tries to bounce it over to Tricky, but Tricky gets the save substitute, getting his first save of the game. And now Jared, with more offense, has 85 boost, see what he can do with it. Tries to challenge Flexi, actually gets the challenge. Ball still played in the corner. Azrael cannot get the hit he was hoping for, and gets the second hit, actually the rebound, and now ball booms into the midfield. Tricky goes for a shot, pretty weak, and Sapphire will have an easy save, play back in the midfield. But a demo opens up the play, but Flexi cannot put the ball in offense, and accuracy plaguing Team Sapphire, and the first shot of the game is wide.
Over to Pasta. Pasta ends up getting out 50, and the ball will launch all the way down the field. Now back into the hands of Flexi. Flexi off the side wall, looking for a follow-up. Now it's going to be put back to the backboard, and JR will push the ball away. Azrael 50s the ball forward, looking for another 50-50. He sets up his teammate, but Tricky ends up being in an awkward situation, and Cannoli looks for a back pass in order to maintain possession for his team.
And JR booms the ball downfield, trying to follow up with his mechanics. Tries to get a dunk on it. Azrael, but cannot own another own goal? No, Azrael denies it. But Tricky with another 50-50 into the corner. We see Azrael trying to take his time, but actually has nobody challenging him. Tries to get past one, but JR has him red. Has the corner burst now in the ball into the corner. See what he can do with it. Plays the ball down. Trying to make Flexi awkward, and a double commit coming out of Cannoli. But really just trying to get these touches around Team Sapphire. Team Sapphire have no answer to Team Black, who are basically just playing cat and mouse, trying to not let them get anything going, and really haven't been able to get anything going this entire game so far.
Exactly. Let's see if Azrael can step up. Here we go. He's in the air. He gets a second touch on it. But as we can see, Azrael, he is playing like a team player, but a lot of his plays look like he's just going for the shot. He's just going for the goal. If we can see Azrael start using his mechanics to not just go for the goal, but go for passes, go for setups for his teammates, maybe we can start seeing some more goals, because even though Azrael is rotating, he's playing really, really well, we still want to see him looking for more than just shots, because if you're playing against someone like JR, who has a lot of experience at higher levels, then it's just not going to work if Azrael just goes for shots, because he's just going to save him every single time.
And I think Salto Lewin, we have a momentary 2v3 on the side of Team Sapphire, who Flexi has disconnected from the game. And in the Havoc rules, this will be played as a 2v3 until this game ends, at the least. So we'll see. Basically, this game is over. Not really anything else Team Sapphire can do besides just to see what they can do better. But Tricky actually, mark my words, Castle Kirk gets a goal off of the misplay from the Team Black side.
There we go. Look at this. Tricky puts the ball right in the back of the net. 2v3 and all. He manages to put it in the back of the net. Oh my goodness. Not a lot of stuff we like to see in regards to the other team, for example. Team Black end up getting 2v3 scored on. However, once you get into that 2v3 mindset, it's very, very hard to focus, because you know you have an advantage, and yet you still end up being a little bit nervous when it comes to playing offense. However, it looks like JR is not nervous at all. He puts the ball in the back of the net. JR gets the hat trick. Cannoli with the playmaker. And now it's going to be at the Team Sapphire, who are going to have to reset and try to win the next 2 games in a row.
So, Luke, besides that, of course, disconnect, did you notice anything that Team Sapphire really weren't doing well or weren't trying to do that really led to them losing these 2 games in a row?
Overall, it just looks like a lack of communication. We see a lot of double commits. As I said earlier, I think Azrael should start going for more passes because he's just going for the net. If you look at Azrael, whenever he has the ball, he's going for their net. He's not looking for passes. He's not looking for backboard setups. He's going straight for the goal. And if he isn't able to get the goal, then he's not going to set up his teammates. He's just giving away possession every single time.
And we actually have Azrael gave me some information on the play. We haven't won a game since the first game, so we'll see if they can break that curse and try and come out swinging in this game.
It looks like we're still on an East server. Maybe if the players ask for a restart, we can still do it. But we'll get over now. 10 seconds. It's going to be over to Azrael. Azrael puts the ball at the backboard over to Flexi. Flexi tries to hit the ball, isn't able to get back to it. It's going to be over to JR. Tricky now trying to maintain possession. It's going to pop the ball up high over to Cannoli. Cannoli looking for the shot. It's going to be back to Azrael. Azrael off the backboard. It's now going to be followed up by JR. Puts the ball into the midfield line over to Flexi. And now Flexi will clear the ball down the field.
Now ball popped out mid for Azrael, who gets a freebie there. Really does a corner bounce really in favor of him. And the server is still East, but we still have to have a lot of lower pings on the side of both teams. So we'll see if that affects them at all.
And it looks like the pings are actually fairly even right now, so hopefully it'll work out. Maybe it was just a bad server on the East server last time. But now, 30 seconds left, 30 seconds off the clock, excuse me. And Team Sapphire looking very strong coming out the gates. And let's see if they can keep this going, as it looks like Azrael is back in the driver's seat.
Definitely scoring the first goal for a seed, which is huge for them. They really needed that first goal, as they have been shut out in most of the other games so far. So really, it will open the floodgates and see if they can score any more goals in this game.
Pasta puts the ball into the corner. We've now reached already a minute into game number 3. It's going to be back over to Azrael. Azrael now to Azrael. Once again, as he gets the 50-50 on JR, but it's going to be taken away by Pasta. And one thing we do have to commend out of Pasta, he's not the most mechanical player on the field, but if you look at him, he gets just the most amazing weird touches to set up his teammates, as we saw right there. And actually, it's going to be a mistouch from Tricky that sets up the other team. It's going to be a whiff. Cannoli shoots, and it gets a save again by Azrael. Azrael has stepped up, not just on offense, but defense as well, as he's already gotten 3 saves. But here's going to be Pasta again. Can he get the goal this time? He will. Azrael couldn't get 4 saves in a row, and that's going to be tied game now with a minute and a half of the clock.
That was just a matter of time. They just kept shooting, and the boost eventually ran out for Azrael, who made so many goal-line saves, and he couldn't get that one. And this game tied up so far, so even if that goal was scored for Team Sapphire in the first minute or so, we have Team Black striking right back.
Over to Flexi right off the kickoff. He's going to shoot. It's going to be a pinch. It's going to go straight to Tricky. He's just going to roll it right at the defender. Almost a good chance there from Team Sapphire. However, Team Black are going to hold the tied game. Pasta looking for a slow play. It's going to be over to Flexi. Flexi trying to maintain possession against hitting it to Azrael. Azrael back to Flexi. Ball's going to get popped up. Over to Cannoli. Cannoli to the side wall. It's going to be taken by JR. It's going to be popped up. Ball over to Azrael. Looking for the play off the flip reset, and he tries to slide it in. Almost an amazing goal. He just wasn't able to put it in, and JR, after a simple 50-50, sets up Cannoli, and Cannoli will get the goal.
And beautiful transition. JR, off of that flip reset, off of Azrael, just gets the 50-50 that booms the ball upfield, and Cannoli actually have the flip, or not the flip reset, the wave dash to get more speed, and just beats Azrael on the goal line, and gives his team the goal with about half the game left coming down.
And Team Sapphire, again, they have these close chances. They're playing so well. It's just there's one small problem. As we saw from Team Gold, it was just one small problem in regards to the second man pushing up, being backwards to the ball on offense. And one of the problems for Team Sapphire at the moment is whenever their third man pushes up. As we look at Flexi right there, he is in their goal box. They are way too far pushed up. And it's allowing Team Black to just clear the ball down the field and get some free goals.
And tied right back up again. We see Tricky really stepping up right now. Maybe that ping really is helping him out very well. And he's got his first goal of this game, and 4 shots are already coming out of him. But now JR has the ball into the blue team corner. Has low boost though, trying to make a play on the ball. He gets 50-50 with Tricky, and ball will remain still. Flexi now picking up where left off. Now Cannoli actually beats it, and Flexi now trying to get for a shot. JR gets the save, and even so far. And what do you think the changes between Team Sapphire from last game to this game?
Azrael. Sorry. In regards to Team Sapphire, it's pretty much just Azrael. As I just said, Azrael's been stepping up big. He had 3 saves in the first minute of the game and the goal on the board. He's stepping up massively for his team here, and if he can continue to try to not just look for shots, but look for passes, maybe we can see Team Sapphire get this win here. But now it's going to be back into the hands of Team of Team Black to try and keep this ball on offense.
Definitely, I don't want to see this team Sapphire squad really be so heavily reliant on Azrael. As you saw in the first game, Azrael doubling his next teammate's points at 800 points. So we definitely don't want to see that, even though it is incredible showing from Azrael. We want to see all players getting involved. And Azrael really leading the charge, not necessarily scoring every single thing, but setting up his teammates for purpose positioning. As he goes for a demo, or actually a demo from Tricky here, but cleared by Cannoli.
Azrael looking for a shot off the ceiling. It's off the crossbar again, though. Azrael has been so close. Now, again, Azrael, he's been close on these shots, but who knows? If he just goes for a pass there, maybe it's a goal. It's just something that I want to start seeing out of Azrael. We know he can hit these shots, but if your accuracy is just not on for that day, instead of beating a dead horse, try something else.
Exactly. You always can't. Trying the same thing over and over again is insanity, so they really have to try and find different ways to break through. And this game, if nobody can score in 50 seconds, which we haven't seen a goal in a very long time, we could be heading to the first overtime of the game, of the series actually. So we'll see a lot closer games so far.
Lexi looking for a ground pinch, ends up losing a 50 to Azrael, and Azrael will fake it out, and Tricky will end up double committing with him. Azrael, he's taking possession again. Look at his solo-mindedness. He's getting the ball onto offense, but all he needs to do is lose the 50-50, look for a pass. Come on, Azrael, you're doing so great right now, but we gotta see that pass.
We gotta see him open up the field for his team. He even if he can't do everything, sometimes these players are starting to realize that he's their anchor. He's getting them the win. So Team Black is really neutralizing him so far, and we've seen that it's not like the first game where he had 800 points. He's only got about 600 this game. Still a lot, but he's not really as everywhere as he could be at a 50-50. He needs to start playing with his team more, and Tricky tries to go for the ball, tries to push the ball one last chance for the team, and the ball will hit 0 seconds. Azrael does opt to keep the ball, going for an airplay, tries to pass to a teammate. Is any team there? No, Sapphire kills the ball in our first overtime of the game.
Team Black, though, we do have to commend them. Their defense is strong. They've been putting up with Tricky and his solo play mindedness. Maybe another academy team wouldn't be able to handle the solo play pressure there from Azrael. But as we can see, Team Black, even when they double commit, they're doing it in such a way that they make sure that the ball is touched out perfectly out to that midfield line, which allows them to make sure they don't get scored on, even when they do double commit. Which, when you're an academy team that may not know the game as well as other players, it definitely helps making sure that even when you double commit, you still get a good touch.
Now Jared tries to keep the ball on offense, actually passes to Tricky, who booms the ball downfield, trying to set up offense for his team, but is beat by Cannoli to the ball. Ball passes middle, no teammate is up for that though, and Fluxy booms the ball towards his corner. Azrael versus Sapphire, and Azrael actually beats him and passes the ball down to Tricky. Tricky cannot get a shot, ball's played to the corner. Fluxy tries to go for a shot, but gets blocked by Jared, a booming clear, but Azrael actually plays the ball towards the midfield. Cannoli now with time. Azrael looks for the dunk, but the ball is pitched downfield, and Azrael, he's doing so much for his team, but it's not enough. They still haven't broken the Team Black defense yet.
Lexi off the corner, looking for the follow-up, isn't able to get the touch. Tricky looks for a demo. Azrael's in the goal box, third man Sam, and allows Team Black to get an offensive chance here. Tricky managed to get back just in the nick of time to get it clear to the backboard. As we can see, the aggressiveness of Team Sapphire is leading them to get they are not able to keep the pressure on offense. That's one of the main reasons why the third man stays so far back, is because you don't want to lose pressure. The third man's not just there so you can block a goal if someone shoots it far away. They're also there to keep pressure on the offensive side, and that's something we're not seeing. Team Sapphire, they get to offense, Azrael looks for a solo play, and the ball just gets cleared right back.
And we're seeing Team Black use this backboard so much to keep hitting the ball off the backboard, going for shots off the backboard, and I think it's finally being countered by Team Sapphire. We saw it as the first goal, just so much pressure off the backboard, so many shots that just were barely off, and they had to jump for them. And now Azrael jumping for this ball, tries to get a read, but is beat by Sapphire, who actually is still aggressing on offense, tries to get the clear towards his teammate. Is anybody teammate there? JR opts for the fake, actually, trying to stay that position third man, and now Cannoli tries to boom the ball downfield. He does get a boom, tries to go for that touch, but is beat by Azrael. And JR is up for this ball, high flying ball, tries to boom the ball towards his teammate, which will actually turn for the ball and try and play this ball into the corner.
Ball back over to Pasta. Pasta puts the ball high into the air. Azrael does actually leave it for Tricky that time, so good comms there from Tricky. Ball gets put over to the side wall. Now back over to Cannoli. Cannoli. Over to the goal. That's going to be in. That's going to be a ground pinch. Azrael insta leaves. 2.5 minutes into overtime, and Team Black win it in 4. Oh my goodness,
what
Benji.
a goal. That is a skyline moment and a half right there. Really just using his nose.